My name is Rachel, I'm 31 years old. And I just realized I spent 4 years dating a man who was in love with a version of me that didn't exist. I'm sitting in my new studio apartment in Brooklyn. Well, new is generous. It's a shoebox with a bathroom the size of a coat closet and a kitchen that's literally just a hot plate and a mini fridge, but it's mine. For the first time in 4 years, I'm living in a space that doesn't feel like I'm a guest in someone else's life. Let me introduce you to Ethan. We met at a rooftop bar in Williamsburg when I was 27. I'd just gotten promoted to junior editor at a small publishing house in Manhattan, and my friends dragged me out to celebrate. I wasn't really looking to meet anyone. I was honestly just excited about the free apps and the view of the skyline. Ethan was everything I thought I wanted. He was 35, had his own marketing consulting business, wore expensive button-downs, and talked about art galleries and wine pairings like they were the most important things in the world. He quoted Hemingway. He had opinions about jazz. He made me feel like I was sophisticated just by standing next to him. On our first date, he took me to this incredible Italian restaurant in the West Village where the menu wasn't in English and he ordered for both of us in perfect Italian. I was impressed. No, I was dazzled. "You have such potential," he said to me over tiramisu. "I can tell you're going to do amazing things." I thought it was a compliment. That should have been my first red flag, but I was too busy being flattered to notice the implication that I wasn't already doing amazing things. That I needed his recognition to validate my worth. That we moved fast. Like terrifyingly fast. Within 3 months he'd asked me to move into his place in Chelsea. A gorgeous 2-bedroom with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. My roommates in Queens were annoying anyway, I told myself. This made sense. "You'll save so much money," Ethan said. "And think about how much more time we'll have together. Plus, my place is closer to your office. It's practical." So I moved in, even though a little voice in my head whispered that maybe I should wait. First it was great. We'd have wine on the balcony, cook dinner together, spend Sundays reading the Times in bed. He introduced me to his friends, all successful, polished people who worked in finance or tech or creative industries that sounded made up. I felt like I'd leveled up in life. But then the suggestions started. "You know what would look great on you? A blazer. Something structured. You dress a little too casual sometimes. Have you thought about highlights? Blonde would really brighten your face. That laugh is a little loud, babe. Just, for when we're at nice places." Each comment was wrapped in concern and helpfulness. He wasn't criticizing me. He was trying to help me be my best self. That's what he said anyway. So I started shopping at the stores he suggested. I got the highlights. I practiced laughing quieter, which is actually insane when I think about it now. I was training myself to take up less space, to be less of who I was. "See," he'd say, looking at me approvingly after I'd dressed in something he picked out. "You look so sophisticated. This is the real you." Except it wasn't. But I was starting to forget what the real me even looked like. The worst part was how he handled my job. I loved working in publishing. Yeah, the pay was garbage. I was making $52,000 a year in one of the most expensive cities in the world, but I loved books. I loved finding new authors, working on manuscripts, being part of bringing stories into the world. Ethan thought it was cute. "It's a nice hobby," he'd say, "but you're too smart to stay there forever. You should be thinking bigger. Marketing maybe, or PR. Something with real growth potential." "I like what I do," I'd say. "I know, babe. I'm just saying you could do so much more. You're settling." That word. Settling. He used it constantly. I was settling in my career. Settling in my ambitions. Settling for friends who didn't push me to grow. He had this way of making everything sound like he was on my side, like he was the only one who could see my true potential. Everyone else was holding me back. Even me. Looking back, I can see how he isolated me. It was subtle. He never forbade me from seeing my friends. That would have been too obvious. Instead, he just make it difficult. "Girls' night again? Didn't you just see them last month? I made us reservations at that new place you wanted to try." "Oh, it's the same night as Sarah's birthday? Well, I guess you'll have to choose." I'm not saying don't go. I'm just saying it would be nice to spend more time together. "I feel like I barely see you." Slowly, I saw my friends less and less. Sarah stopped inviting me to things. My college roommate Jess told me I'd changed, that she didn't recognize me anymore. We got into a huge fight about it and I didn't talk to her for 6 months. Ethan said she was jealous. The apartment became my entire world. His rules became my rules. He liked the place spotless, so I cleaned constantly. He had specific ways he wanted things organized. Books arranged by color, kitchen utensils in exact drawers, even the way the throw pillows sat on the couch. "I just appreciate order," he'd explain. "Is that so wrong?" It wasn't wrong. But I was exhausted, trying to maintain his standards while also working full-time and somehow becoming the person he thought I should be. Year 2 was when I started having panic attacks. They'd come out of nowhere. I'd be on the subway or at my desk or lying in bed at night, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. My chest would tighten, my vision would blur, and I'd feel like I was dying. I told Ethan about them. "It's stress," he said. "You put too much pressure on yourself. Maybe you should quit that job. The commute alone is probably killing you." But the commute wasn't the problem. The job wasn't the problem. He was the problem. I didn't realize it yet, though. I made an appointment with a therapist, Dr. Chan, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who had an office near Union Square. "Tell me about your relationship," she said in our 3rd session. I painted this picture of Ethan as supportive, successful, someone who wanted the best for me. "And what do you want for yourself?" she asked. I opened my mouth and realized I had no idea. I'd spent so long trying to become what Ethan wanted that I'd completely lost track of what I wanted. "I don't know," I whispered. "That's a problem," Dr. Chun said gently. Therapy became my lifeline. It was the 1 hour a week where I could be honest, where I could start untangling all the ways I twisted myself into not trying to be enough for someone who would never think I was enough. Because that was the truth I was starting to see. Ethan didn't love me. He loved the project of me. He loved the idea that he could take this rough-around-the-edges girl from Queens and turn her into someone worthy of his life. I was a fixer-upper, a before picture waiting for the after. The breaking point came last spring. I got offered a promotion at work, senior editor. It came with a raise, more responsibility, and the chance to acquire my own titles. I was thrilled. This was what I'd been working toward for years. I came home ready to celebrate. Ethan was in the kitchen making his protein shake. "Guess what?" I said, grinning. "I got the promotion." He looked up. "The senior editor thing?" "Yeah." He put down the blender bottle. "Congratulations. That's great, babe." But his face said otherwise. "You don't seem excited," I said. "No, I am. He sighed. "I thought you were going to start looking at other industries. We talked about this." "You talked about this." "I never said I wanted to leave publishing." "Rachel, you're 30 years old." 31. "And you're making what, 60,000 now? Maybe 70 with this promotion? That's not a career. That's a hobby you're getting paid for." Something inside me cracked. "It's my career," I said quietly. "It's what I love." "You could love something that actually pays you what you're worth." "And what am I worth, Ethan? Please tell me. Since you seem to have it all figured out." We fought for 3 hours. He said I was being defensive. I said he was being condescending. He said he was trying to help me. I said I didn't need his kind of help. "I'm trying to push you to be better," he finally shouted. "I don't want to be better," I shouted back. "I want to be myself." The silence after that was deafening. "I don't think you know who you are," he said coldly. Maybe he was right, but I knew I wasn't who he wanted me to be, and I was tired of trying. I called my friend Sarah the next day. We hadn't really talked in over a year. "I need help," I said when she answered. "Thank God," she said. "I've been waiting for this call." She helped me find the apartment in Brooklyn. She and Jess helped me move my stuff out while Ethan was at a conference in Boston. I left him a letter, not because he deserved one, but because I needed to say goodbye to that version of myself. "I'm not your potential. I'm not your project. I'm just me, and that's going to have to be enough." That was 3 months ago. The panic attack stopped. I took the promotion. I started seeing my friends again. Real friends, who liked me in sweatpants with my natural hair color and my loud laugh. I joined a book club in Park Slope. I adopted a cat named Waffles from a shelter in Bushwick. I started writing again, something I'd given up because Ethan said I should focus on one thing at a time. Last week, I ran into Ethan at a coffee shop in Soho. He looked the same. Perfect hair, expensive coat, that evaluating look in his eyes. "Rachel," he said, "you look different." I was wearing jeans and an old NYU sweatshirt. My hair was in a messy bun. I wasn't wearing makeup. "I look like me," I said. "Right." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "How's the new place?" "Small. Perfect. Mine. And work." "Great, actually. I just acquired this incredible debut novel. We're doing a 6-figure marketing push." Something flickered across his face. Surprise? Annoyance? "That's great," he said. "Really? I always knew you had potential." There it was. That word. I always had more than potential, Ethan. I just needed to get away from you to remember that. I walked out before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but from adrenaline, not panic. From power, not fear. Dr. Chan says I'm doing the work, that I'm learning to trust myself again, to value my own opinions, to take up space without apologizing. It's hard. Some days I still hear Ethan's voice in my head, critiquing my choices, questioning my decisions. Some days I miss the fancy apartment and the nice dinners and the feeling of being part of his polished world. But then I come home to my shoebox apartment with terrible water pressure and waffles meowing at me for dinner, and I remember, I'd rather be broken myself than comfortable in someone else's project. I'm not potential. I'm not a work in progress. I'm not a rough draft waiting for someone else's edits. I'm the final version. And I'm enough. Even in sweatpants. Especially in sweatpants.